lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. It is Wednesday the 16th of October. My name is Owen, and here is what is on my mind today. So, as always, I've picked out 5 stories making the headlines I wanted to give my thoughts on. Links are in the description so you can read each article in full and show those original publications some love. So, let's just jump right in with story number 1. So, story number 1, not a happy story, but I think it's worth mentioning. So, this was in BBC News today, and a woman who was killed as she leant out of a train window. Yeah, so this happened in December 2018. This is Bethan Roper, 28, and she was hit in the head with a tree branch while on board a Great Western Railway service travelling at about 75 miles an hour. So the Rail Accident Investigation Branch noted that trees along the route had not been inspected since 2009 and signs they deemed inadequate. So an investigation said Miss Roper was returning to Penarth, South Wales from Bath Spa Station. She was with friends, and she said at least one of the friend had leant out of the report said at least one of the friend had leant out of the window before Miss Roper did. Witnesses told investigators that she had her head out the window for a few seconds before falling back into the vestibule, and despite the efforts of other passengers, some of whom had medical training, she was pronounced dead at Bristol Station. The Rail Accident Investigation Boards, the RAIB, which is how I'll refer to them from this point on, said the doors with London Paddington to Exeter service were fitted with an opening window to enable passengers to open the door at stations. Okay, we're going to come back to that. It said a warning sign above the drop-light window met industry guidance but did not adequately convey the level of risk. Investigators claim the use of the word caution suggested that leaning out the window could be done safely if care was taken. So it wasn't like a prohibitive for one, it wasn't don't, it was like caution, which kind of says, like if you say caution hot, you might still touch it like a kind of kettle or an appliance, but you might be tentative. So that's what they're equating it to, the saying it kind of suggested that you could do it if you were safe. They said it was much smaller than surrounding signs, and had it been red instead of yellow, it would have been a more appropriate colour to convey danger. Great Western Railway has a completed risk assessment of its drop-light windows after an earlier passenger death. It planned to install enhanced warning signs in May 2018, but this had not happened by the time of Miss Roper's death, investigators found. The investigators were told it did not meet its schedule as 2 staff members involved in the task left the company and the system which tracks pieces of work failed. The RAIB also noted that Network Rail, responsible for managing line-side vegetation, had not undertaken a tree inspection of the area since 2009, and this was possibly causal to the accident. An inspection of the tree after the accident reported the stem was in poor health and growing from a decayed stump. The arboricultural report said the tree had been in a hazardous condition for several years, and prior to January 2018, at least 3 stems would have been clear threats to the railway. Miss Roper's father, Adrian, released a statement after her death saying his daughter enjoyed life to the full whilst working tirelessly for a better world. She worked for the Welsh Refugee Council charity and was chairman of the Young Socialists of Cardiff. So, firstly, this is a tragedy, obviously, and I want to give props to the BBC for the way they've reported this, because the story appears in several publications today, and the others have focused on the fact that Miss Roper was over the drink-drive limit, twice over the drink-drive limit, and they've put that in the headline because the report did identify it. However, the way they've put it in, it's almost assigning some blame to it. Okay, now where you fall on this is up to you. She did have her head out of a window. The signage wasn't sufficient, according to the investigation, to deter somebody. For me, the fact that she was a passenger, she's come back after a night out, it says that potential impaired judgment may have contributed to it in some of these other articles. Okay, so it's a fair point, yes. However, I do believe that if you run a rail service or any kind of service like a late bus service and that, you have to allow for the fact that you're going to get passengers who are intoxicated with impaired judgment, so you need to put your safety procedures to allow for that, and this report says that maybe they didn't. So yes, fair play to the BBC for not focusing on that. Why? See, the door thing bothers me, the window thing. So obviously what they're saying is the window opened so you could reach out and unlatch the door from the outside in stations. So I don't know for a fact, but I'm guessing they don't open from inside, simply for safety when you're travelling. Okay, so when you come to a stop in the station, you can open a window, you can reach out and unlatch it. Is there any need for that to be in place? Is there any need for that to be a thing? I mean, trains are stuffy, so by all means have windows that open, a sliding window, something that you cannot get an appendage out of. You can have windows with like holes and things that you can slide, and vents. You don't need to be able to fit your head and your full arm out. But it says that's what these doors have, so you can reach out and unlatch the door when you're in a station. Surely when you disembark from a train, there is people getting on, and one of them is more than capable of unlocking the door. Is there not a station guard when a train comes in, because they run to a very, very strict schedule, who could also be there to open the door? Or could it not, in this day and age, have we not got the technology whereby my car, I've got a very, very basic little family car, and I can set a speed whereby when we exceed that speed, the doors lock. I've got it set at 15 miles an hour. You literally pull away and you'll hear the doors and everything locks. You're not telling me that in this day and age we couldn't have a technology whereby a train doors are locked until it comes to a perfect standstill in a station, at which point there's a door, there's a catch on the inside, or an automatic lock, which will, once it's in the station and stationary, it will then open. So, yeah, it's tragic. A family has lost a daughter, friends have lost friends. So I thought it was worth mentioning. It's interesting the way that different outlets have reported it, but it just seems lunacy to me that you can even reach out of a window of a train when it's in motion, because we can't come up with a better system. So yeah, it's not a light-hearted story to start with, but I thought it was worth mentioning because a cautionary tale. If you're going to travel on these things, just do be aware of it, and if you've got mates and you've had a bit to drink, just keep an eye on them, because we don't want stuff like this happening. Okay, so let's move on to number 2. So story number 2, Virgin Galactic and Under Armour have paired up. They have teamed up and unveiled the spacesuits for the first space tourists, which they will wear next year. So this is Virgin Galactic, helmed of course by Richard Branson, and Under Armour on Wednesday unveiled the spacesuits it is making for people to wear on these journeys. So the companies are collaborating on a full line of spacewear for Virgin Galactic, and the companies claim it's the first collection specifically created for private astronauts. And the collection includes a spacesuit, training suit, footwear, and even limited edition jacket. Virgin Galactic spacecraft will carry as many as 6 passengers, along with 2 pilots, to the edge of space. The spaceship is dropped from a jet-powered aircraft at about 40,000 feet before firing a rocket motor, which will reach about 3 times the speed of sound as it climbs through the Earth's atmosphere. The spacecraft and its passengers float weightless for about 10 minutes before gliding back down to Earth, much like a traditional aircraft. And a ticket for this is going to go on sale for about $250,000 per person. So the design of the spacewear included input from astronaut trainers and pilots and doctors and stylists and more. And so they really got a team together to say what's going to be practical in this kind of environment, the small cabin environment, and what's going to be stylish. And they found a nice balance between the two. Each spacesuit will be personally tailored to each passenger and will include national flags and name badges, which is nice. It's made from a variety of materials that Virgin Galactic have been tested rigorously in spaceflight-like environments. So the fact that you're weightless in the cabin, I'm guessing you're going to be able to float around and take your seatbelt off for 10 minutes or so. So you're going to be rubbing against other people and against materials in the cabin. So they've made it fairly hardy, I guess. Virgin Galactic's mission specialists, such as Chief Astronaut Trainer Beth Moses, will wear the Under Armour spacesuit on the company's remaining crewed test flights. For Under Armour, the spacesuit initiative fits its broader push to sell performance gear. So they've said that companies like Nike and Adidas and that they tend to focus on specific sports, so they're like basketball wear and football wear, whereas apparently Under Armour tend to go for more performance. Their brands suffered a little bit recently in North America. They say the company has stayed too focused on performance, missing other trends. But the CEO, Kevin Plank, has argued that Under Armour will stay true to its core. So yeah, the two big companies come together, they've teamed up. Why not? If you're going to spend £250,000, you might as well look stylish doing it. So Virgin Galactic is in the final stages of testing the spacecraft, with just a couple of flights remaining. They're hoping to get the first ones next year. The company had a backlog of 603 customers as of the end of June, many of whom have waited years for their chance to fly. And In a time since its 2 most recent test flights reached the edge of space, Virgin Galactic says it has received interest from more than 3,000 potential customers. The company plans to begin commercial flights in 2020, with Branson expected to fly on the first one. So that's it. Space tourism, it's going to become a thing. I know it's happened a little bit. There was an American millionaire who managed to hitch a ride on a Russian spacecraft, but it's going to be, if you've got the money, it's going to be just a tourist attraction. Virgin Galactic is planning to list on the New York Stock Exchange before the end of the year through a merger announced in July with social capital Hedosophia, a special purchase acquisition company created by venture capitalist, and I can't pronounce the name, Chamath Palihapitiya, big name. Once the merger closes, Virgin Galactic will have a valuation of $1.5 billion, with social capital Hedosophia retaining a 49% stake. So yeah, there you go. So these brands got together. You know, Galactic is going to be a thing. When it first launched, I think people thought it was going to be a bit of a gimmick, and but Branson has put in the time, and he's put in the effort, and he's put in the testing, and we're nearly there. And he's going to take you up into space if you want to, the edge of space. You can argue the price tag, $250,000. If again, it's like I've said many times, is it worth it to you? If it's worth it to you, pay it. One of the first people, the first non-professionally trained astronauts to actually go to the edge of space and look down on the curvature of the Earth and float weightless, and yeah, again, you come down and you've got you imagine that you'll have your video and you'll have your photographs and you have the team stuff, and you'll now have a very smart looking Under Armour suit and training shoes to go with it. So if that's something you enjoy, why not? Have at it. Anyway, moving on, story number 3. This is a good one. This is the Mirror today. Passenger wears all of her clothes on a flight to avoid paying the baggage fee. So yeah, this is Jill Rodriguez, she's called. She refused to pay an excess baggage fee, says she opened up her hand luggage and began putting on layers before boarding a jet. Yes, check-in staff told her her suitcase was too heavy. So by the time she'd finished, she put an extra 2.5 kilos of clothing. She said it was really hot. She was wearing at least 3 pairs of trousers or shorts, 5 shirts and 3 jackets. She took a picture of it, or she got a friend to take a picture of it, and stuck it on Facebook. It went viral 19,000 times. People have shared it and said, fair play, money saving stuff. Check-in staff told her that the suitcase weighed 9 kilos and that it exceeded the 7 kilo limit. By wearing all the clothes, she managed to bring it down to 6.5 kilos, which was just under the limit. The passenger from Davao City in the Philippines wrote when the airline staff at the check-in counter said, excess no po kilo, 7 kilogram lang po allowed na hand carry. So I'm guessing that is Filipino for too much weight, you've got a maximum of 7. She said, no problem, from 9 kilogram to 6.5 baggage, hashtag excess baggage challenge accepted. And she was able to board the flight with no problem after that. She told Vice, I didn't want to pay the fee for the excess baggage because it was literally 2 kilos. I was stunned when it went viral. If I'd known, I would have posed a better picture. She admitted she would not attempt the stunt again and suggested others shouldn't try it. People are going to do, of course they are. Maybe not, it was really hot. I don't recommend it to other people. There have been a number of similar incidents in recent years, but some passengers have been blocked from boarding while wearing multiple layers to avoid baggage fees. So yeah, a bit of fun. She managed to, victory for the little guy, managed to usurp the rules a little bit. For me, it's just the oddness of this story is that I spoke to you guys a little while ago about a pilot who had flown an overweight aircraft and it crashed. This is a big deal. You do not overload an aircraft. It seems a little odd that it's like, you can't have 9 kilos in this bag. Okay, what if I have 7.5 kilos in this bag and 2.5 kilos on me? It's the same amount of weight, and all of a sudden that's fine. So that the plane is no lighter for these fees. You know what I mean? It's not like they said, right, well, that weight cannot be on the plane. We've got a strict limit because you cannot bring that much on board. But they let her go on board with it. They didn't make her drop the weight. They didn't say, no, you've got too much weight, the plane is overloaded. So they allowed the weight to go on. It just had to be in separate pieces. So some on her and some in the cabin. And I've always found this a little odd. Because again, it is, you do not overload an aircraft. That is rule number 1. Because bad things happen. But these excess baggage charges do feel like they're kind of like they're just made to cash in, because it's, how can I put this, keeping it delicate? I'll use myself as an example. I'm big. I'm a big guy, you know, and I used to be a lot heavier than I am. So I think I've said before, I'm like 6'4", 6'5". I used to be a good 17, 18 stone. I was a big lad. And yet I'm allowed the same amount of baggage as some tiny, tiny, petite little young lady. So the difference is, I mean, she's allowed the same amount of baggage as me, but I'm probably carrying 5 stone on her. Now I know you can't, it would be discriminatory to say, well, you know, tall people, you can't carry as much luggage because you're more weight, or heavy people and this kind of thing. But you kind of think, is it going to go that way? Sorry, I've got an itch. Is it going to go that way? Because if they're charging now for specifics, and some airlines, some of the budget airlines will rarely find any way to charge you for everything. You know, is there going to be, would you think they'd test it? That's a question for you. Do you think they'd actually sort of push it and say, well, you know, we're trying to bring all this money out of them for, you know, if the baggage is a little bit over heavy and that, what if the person is over heavy? I mean, like I say, there's hopefully there's laws against that kind of discrimination, because I'm just tall because I'm tall. There's not a lot I can do about it. It just seems odd that people are still like, if as long as you distribute the weight, you're allowed to take it on. And you're like, well, surely the charge is to deter you from carrying too much weight. But then you get an instance like this where it's like, okay, I'll just manipulate the weight. The aircraft is as heavy as it would have been had she left it in the hand luggage. Because it's hand luggage, she's carrying it on the plane, so it's in the same section, it's probably above her head. If it was a weight distribution thing, and it was like, no, some of it has to be in the hold because the suitcases, the way they're positioned, the way the passengers are positioned, and it's about that kind of balance. I can kind of see that way you can redistribute it, but the fact it was kind of carry on anyway, so the weight ended up in the same place it would have done, is, I don't know, it's weird. If you could explain it to me, because I don't get it. Anyway, let's move on. Story number 4. This one's in the sun. Yes, that picture kind of says it all. Angry Susanna Reid tears into Mr. Broccoli on Good Morning Britain as she slams the joke Extinction Rebellion protesters. So yes, Susanna Reid, who's normally the calm one out of her and Piers, clashed with the guy dressed as broccoli as they discussed vegan protests. She called the so-called activist absurd for dressing like a vegetable while trying to tackle a serious issue of climate change. She said, "Your argument dressed up as broccoli strikes me as so absurd that you're wearing a costume but you're trying to put a serious point across about veganism." She questions his motives, saying, "Are you actually part of Animal Rebellion and Extinction Rebellion at all, or are you just somebody who's trying to send up the whole movement?" Because I'm not sure if you're going to win anybody over dressed as broccoli trying to make a serious political point about how to stop climate change by changing your diet. Mr. Broccoli responded, "I hear what you're saying, and we're in extremely hot water about this. It's going to go pear-shaped." So Pierce then chimed in, saying, "Do you practice what you preach when it comes to the environment at home? Do you have televisions? Do you have electrical devices?" Mr. Broccoli, who was arrested at the Animal Rebellion protest on Sunday but released without charge, then mocked, "No, I'm just broccoli." So that comment obviously didn't go down well with Pierce. They slammed his lack of knowledge behind the science behind plant-based eating. He said, "You have to explain to them why you think a plant-based diet is going to be effective. If you don't know the science, then how can you do that?" And again, he responded, "I'm just broccoli," before taking a banana out of his jacket pocket and pretending it was a phone. So Pierce snapped in, "The trouble is, Mr. Broccoli, you made a coherent, powerful, science-based argument, you would have had a real impact. You would have got attention. You know, you would have had a lot of attention to the way you dressed up for your cause, but come here and made an idiot of yourself makes us just think you're an idiot." So yeah, so this is all, you know, a kind of offshoot of the Extinction Rebellion, the climate protesters they've planned 2 weeks of disruptions across London, which began on October the 7th. Thousands of protesters brought the capital to a standstill last week, and they blocked roads and bridges, forcing ambulances to be diverted and causing mayhem for motorists. Some protesters handcuffed themselves to cars or glued themselves to government buildings. Activists occupied London City Airport, with a Paralympic athlete gluing himself to a plane and others attempting to stop flights taking off. Meanwhile, militant vegan offshoot Animal Rebellion took over Smithfield Meat Market, causing traders to lose thousands of pounds in just one night. Police said that 1,445 people have been arrested so far as this mayhem continues. So, yeah, if you want to make a serious point, approach it in a serious manner. If you're going to have a spokesman or a spokesperson, go and try and sell your cause to the general public. You need to appeal to them. You know, you need to come with like logical arguments, because if you don't, if it is just a bit of fun to you, the people who are clued up on it are just going to blow you out of the water. The protest thing, okay, so protests are designed to cause disruption, because that's what protests do. They cause disruption and they draw attention. They get the focus on the media focus. But sure, the idea of a protest is also to bring people to your cause, to draw people in, like-minded people who may not be aware of what's going on, to say, look what's happening. You're not going to do that by causing this level of disruption. By bringing a major metropolitan city to a standstill, what you're doing, rather than draw attention to your cause in a positive way, and some of the things they have to say are worthy arguments, but going about it in such a pantomime kind of way and causing, you know, thousands and thousands of people not to be able to get to work, not to be able to take a flight, ambulances not to get to, you know, where they need to be. There needs to be some sort of balance. By all means, have your protest. By all means, you know, make your point, but you've got to do it in a way that endears people to you, that draws people to you, not the way you've done it, which is just causing outrage because people are like, whatever your argument is, I don't care because I am now late for work, or my loved one is in a worse medical condition because an ambulance couldn't get to us because you had glued yourself to the street. There needs to be, you know, the right to protest is a right, and you know, we have it, and it's great that we have it. It's great that we can stand up. It's great that we can stand there and debate and you know, give our arguments against the powers that be and injustices, what we consider injustices in the world, absolutely. But there's ways of doing it, and I don't think this was the way of doing it, and this guy just kind of epitomised it for me. It's just like, whenever you see protests on TV, you tend to get a few people who are very passionate about it, and then a few people who are there just to get out of the house. So you may have had thousands of people, but I bet thousands of those people, I bet if you questioned every one of them, very few would actually know the finer points of your argument. So again, but I mean, anything is going to do that. Any crowd, any protest, any public event in a public space is going to draw people who are not that bothered about it. They just want to be part of something. You know, that's always going to be the case, but you need to make sure that the spokesmen, the people who are going to get on camera and who are going to actually represent your cause, are going to come and say, yeah, the protests are this, but this is why, and come with a logical argument. Just going up there and just taking the mickey is not going to get anybody on your side. So, yeah. Anyway, we're going to finish short and sweet, a quick one in the Metro. You can always rely on the Metro. So story number 5. If you've lost a massive bag of dildos, they've been found in Somerset. So this is the Metro today. This article is full of puns, so I will read it. Residents in the town of Somerset have been left shaken after a bag of sex toys was discovered dumped at the side of the road. There was a buzz about the town of Bridgewater as people tried to work out who they belong to. There is rampant speculation about the town, about the pink and purple dildos that were left next to a drain up the rear passage of a branch of NatWest. Richard Lees took a picture of the abandoned sex toys, but nobody has come forward to admit owning them. There are up to 10 vibrators discovered among the haul, varying in size. It's not known if they've been used or still work. On the local newspaper Facebook page, people seem more bothered about the quality of the paper bag and cardboard box that were used to contain them. So, yeah, there you go. Everyone loves a mystery, so there's now the mystery of the abandoned adult entertainment devices, let's call them that. So, I don't know, it is intriguing, isn't it, now? You think maybe somebody, number one, that's quite a collection. Has somebody been discovered, or a fear of being discovered, and they have to quickly just discard them, you know, or they don't want to take them to a plastic recycling plant, you know, or an electronic, just take it down to your local tip. Where's the small appliances or electricals? What, like a kettle? Yes. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking more kind of like electric toothbrushes with no bristles. Oh, that's over there in that bin. Thank you. So, yeah, we don't know who left them. Could be a guy, could be a girl. We don't know. I don't judge. So, yeah, it's a mystery. I will be phenomenally impressed if somebody comes forward and says, yeah, they're mine, sorry. Yeah, I'll dispose of them properly. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll probably just get dumped and I don't. Is that the kind of product you can recycle? I don't know. But there you go. So that's it, guys. Links to all the stories I've discussed today can be found in the description, so feel free to go and check them out. Let me know what you think about this video and tell me what embarrassing things have you ever had to throw out in the past because you were discovered. Answers in the comments, please, along with any thoughts you'd like to share. These were mine. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. Just that was on my mind. Until next time, bye for now.